Breaking news on the war in Iran. An impending ceasefire agreement between the U.S. and Iran threatened today by new strikes between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. President Trump says a deal to end the fighting and reopen the Strait of Hormuz is scheduled to be signed today. Iran denied an agreement would be signed so soon, but left open the possibility it could happen in the coming days. Here's what Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said about the proposal today.
As we talk about aspects of the deal, some of which have come out publicly are totally wrong, it's performance-based. No money released to Iran until they perform. There's no trust and verify. There's no trust here, and we're going to verify everything. Nuclear material will be destroyed and removed. The nuclear program will be dismantled. The straits will be open. No tolling. This is not the JCPOA was a path to a bomb. What this deal will be a wall to a bomb.
Joining me now is Virginia Congressman James Walkinshaw. He serves on the House Oversight and Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. So on this proposed Iran deal, it reportedly establishes a 60-day ceasefire leading to more negotiations. But all of this is complicated and it could take months. And right now, it looks as though the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz to global shipping could potentially be one of the only tangible items here, because it takes a lot of things to happen for the U.S. to get the nuclear, the enriched uranium out of the country, to actually have tangibles on what happens to Iran's nuclear weapons. So do you think that, I mean, what do you make of this deal? Do you think that this is a legitimate or good deal?
Well, first, I think we have to acknowledge that it's been weeks now that the Trump administration has been saying, we're on the verge of a deal. We're on the verge of a deal. So I'll believe it when I see it, if this particular deal comes together. But second, we're negotiating for things that we had before Trump launched this unauthorized war. We're negotiating to reopen the Strait of Hormuz that was wide open before the war started. We're negotiating to be able to negotiate around Iran's nuclear program. And that was happening and could have happened before the war started. So from a strategic perspective, we've made absolutely no progress after losing the lives of 13 brave service members and spending tens and tens of billions of dollars.
And Congressman, I mean, do you think that, I mean, what do you make of the fact that Iran is essentially saying that this deal, we're not sure when it's going to be signed, and hasn't necessarily said that those four pillars that the White House outlined, including Iran not having control of the Strait of Hormuz, including them handing over all of that enriched uranium, which there's questions about whether or not it can even be reached. What do you make of Iran's response to all of this?
Well, it's what we've seen for weeks and weeks now, with the Trump administration coming out and saying, we're on the verge of a deal, and here are some leaked parameters of that deal that make us look good. And then Iran or the mediators, Pakistanis and others saying, no, actually, we're not on the verge of a deal. So it's hard to know what's true in terms of how close they actually are to a deal. But I think one thing is clear at this point. No one seems to be suggesting there's a deal where Iran is going to agree now to give up their nuclear material, which is the reason, the stated reason, one of them, that Donald Trump started this reckless, unauthorized war. So he's not getting what he said he wanted to get when he started this war. There's no question about that. To have a negotiation to negotiate more about the nuclear material, could have done that without the war. In fact, we were doing that before the war started.
Congressman, I also want to ask you about FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act that expired on Friday over Democrats' objections to President Trump's selection of Bill Pulte as acting director of national intelligence. Trump has now nominated the U.S. Attorney in Manhattan, Jay Clayton, as his permanent pick. Republicans are warning that this FISA lapse means the U.S. could, quote, go dark against terrorism, cyber threats, and other dangers. So do you think that they're exaggerating those national security threats? Do you expect FISA won't be reauthorized until a DNI is actually confirmed?
FISA and Section 702 absolutely is an important national security tool. And it's the Trump administration that put that tool at risk. First, by rejecting some of the common sense reforms that, by the way, a lot of Democrats and Republicans in Congress have been advocating for, like warrant requirements before the government can access the communications of American citizens. And then second, when President Trump appointed on an interim basis Bill Pulte, who is a clown, who has weaponized mortgage lending, has no national security experience. You know, Jay Clayton is not a great option in my view, but much, much better than Bill Pulte. So it's Trump who has put national security at risk by messing around with this program and then trying to appoint an absolute joke clown in Pulte in this critical national security role.
Congressman, I also just want to ask you about the Kennedy Center. This new fund was created where the president and the White House and the Kennedy Center are essentially saying that more donations could come for the renovations made to the Kennedy Center. And, you know, this all comes amid reports that more than half of the donors to Trump's White House ballroom project have won new or expanded federal contracts, totaling up to $50 billion. So could this new Trump Kennedy Fund, where more private donors can be giving money to the president's projects, just be another avenue for companies and private donors to seek influence, to try to curry favor with the president?
Absolutely, it could. And precisely that kind of corruption or potential corruption is something that I hope a Democratic Congress will be able to investigate in January of 2027. Let me just say about the Kennedy Center, you know, Trump has driven it into the ground. He's driven it into the ground. Performers backed out, ticket sales dried up, the board and the staff in absolute turmoil once Trump and his allies took over. Best thing could happen for the Kennedy Center is for Donald Trump to move on to his other ego vanity projects and leave the Kennedy Center alone. It was doing much better before he got involved.
Congressman James Walkinshaw, thank you for your time. I appreciate you joining us on this
Thanks for having
Sunday.
me.